former senior writer, Sports Illustrated, podcast, Chris Mannix on iTunes, covered the NBA for 15 years. Chris Mannix, who threw a crazy thing out yesterday on Speak for Yourself, and you just kind of threw it out there, and we went to commercial. I'm like, what was that? We were talking about, Lee Jenkins came on this show once, and that Kevin Durant is a little bit of a wanderer, and he's very comfortable. You know, a lot of Americans, most Americans on average, never leave more than 18 miles from their mother. That's a stat. 40% of Americans never leave their area code. Okay, I've been in 8 states. I'm comfortable. I didn't have a traditional family. Kevin Durant's moved all over the country. 3 different high schools. High school, college, Texas, Seattle, Oklahoma, Golden State. Very comfortable with moving. And we now live in the mobility era. And you believe he's not finishing in Golden State.
I don't think he finishes in Golden State. Look, after next season, he's going to have $80 million in his pocket from the last 3 years and probably 3 championships. So at 30 years old, Kevin Durant is basically going to have a blank canvas. He can do whatever he wants, knowing his legacy is secured. And no question, there'll be a lot of teams out there trying to recruit him. I think Kevin Durant wants to hear those recruitments. I think Kevin Durant will be open-minded next summer when it comes to where he wants to go. But I keep going back to Oklahoma City. And I keep going back to the fact that everything we know about Kevin Durant, the sensitivities, how much he hates the fact that people say he jumped on Steph Curry's bandwagon, and the fact that there has been no bridge burned with Oklahoma City. The relationship with Russell Westbrook seems to be the best it's been since he left Oklahoma City. I know, Colin, that there's some financial gymnastics you have to do to get a Kevin Durant on the roster, but I really believe that come the end of the year, he's going to take a long look at Oklahoma City.
You know, Chris, we have history here, and I'm a big believer in just looking what's happened. All right, what's happened in the NBA? Dynasties never last as long as we think. That is just a fact. They just don't. And they last shorter. Now, people always say, what about the Celtics? And what about Magic? Didn't have social media then. Egos are amplified. Tension is amplified. Players now have $150 million net worth. They're American royalty. The NBA stars are our royal family. I mean, even outside of like an Aaron Rodgers, top 5 NBA stars are the biggest stars in American sports. Easily. Mike Trout can walk through a mall in America. Hat on, don't know him. 6'9", LeBron, Kevin Durant, they are Beyonce. They're Jay-Z. I think the thing that I keep noticing is players have been empowered in the NBA, and they want to control their narrative. And what has Kevin Durant got to prove if they win again? What? There's nothing there.
No.
And by the way, I'm not sure Steph loves him quite as much.
I don't know that relationship is bad. I do think when David West at the end of that year, one of the things he said was like, you guys don't know. I think that meant the tensions in that locker room were much higher than they ever have been before. Now, that doesn't mean that they hate each other, but it does mean they went through some stuff during the year. And look, you've got a guy like Draymond, who I'm sure off the court they all like, but at the same time, how often do you have to kind of play hall monitor with Draymond and kind of rein him back in? How tired must an Andre Iguodala be in having to be that veteran locker room presence? I think that there's a good chance at the end of this year that relationship may not have soured, but maybe it ran its course. I mean, Kevin Durant, in every way, was a mercenary going out there. He signed on to win championships, and he accomplished that. And Oklahoma City is the only place he can go to where he can kind of complete his narrative, where he can get everybody off his back. That's why I just keep thinking, I mean, does he want to go to New York? Well, maybe. I mean, but he doesn't like being near his family on the East Coast. He never considered the Wizards a few years back for that reason. Does he want to go to L.A.? No. A guy like Kevin Durant with 3 championships, you don't get to that point and say, I want to help LeBron win a championship. You get to that point and say, I want to win more championships than LeBron. I think that's the biggest reason that a Kevin Durant wouldn't go to L.A. So I keep going back to Oklahoma City, a franchise that won't have a championship next year, but would be well positioned to win one if Kevin Durant came back in the mix.
Carmelo Anthony is now a Houston Rocket. I said this earlier. The great players in the NBA are not only talented, but they have self-awareness. Dwayne Wade, LeBron, Steph, Jerry West, Magic Bird. The great players understand on a macro level, I need help. Pass more. These guys could all drop 40 a game, okay? But at some point, Kobe needed Pau Gasol and went to the organization. I'm leaving here if you don't get me. Melo's, to me, that's been a hole with Melo. He had Mike D'Antoni, who's good for every offensive player, who doesn't care about defense. He ran him out of town. He's in Denver. He forces the Knicks to give up a draft pick and players instead of waiting 3 months, going and using all those to get another player. He lacks self-awareness. I look at Houston and Carmelo, and I think he's a bench player now, right? Like, isn't he a bench player? He laughed at that suggestion. I don't know how it's going to work. Do you?
No, I don't think that. Look, the Rockets didn't get better in all this. Once he eventually signs, you can't look at them and say they're a better team than they were last year. You might be able to say that if Carmelo did say he was a sixth man. I mean, look, I think Carmelo could play till he's 40. I think as a sixth man, he can still cook those second unit defenders. He can still give you 15 points per game, playing 25 minutes per game against second unit guys, but he just won't accept that not playing the first 6 minutes of the game is okay. I mean, look, Colin, he doesn't play at the end of the Oklahoma City season. Who was on the floor in the fourth quarter of big games at Carmelo's position? It was Jeremy Grant. He was playing a lot of those minutes because he defends better. He's more athletic. He fits in what the team wants to do around Westbrook and Paul George. If Carmelo really believes that it's starter or bust, this could be his last season in the league. Because I don't know a team out there, at least a contender, that would say, I want to take Carmelo Anthony on, put him in the starting lineup, and I think I can win. It's either sixth man and play for a winner or starter and maybe out of the league.
Everybody, myself included, microanalyzed Westbrook, Paul George. They actually worked okay together.
Yeah.
They were fine. They weren't great. They were fine. It was the first year. Wade and LeBron were clunky in the first year. But Westbrook, Paul George, and Melo was a disaster. Like we have, again, I go back to something I always do on the show in the morning when I prep for the show. What's precedent? I think the Melo Houston thing could be a mess. Now, I said this to start my show today. LeBron, July 1st, I'm a Laker. It's July 27th. He's been here 27 days. Oh, wait, he left for Europe for 10. He's been in LA 16 days. He's got a TV show on HBO. He's got a movie deal, dinner with stars, and a pizza promotion. A year ago, September, Peter Vesey said, it's done. He's going to the Lakers. And he was adamant about it. Now, Peter was pre-Woj for about 20 years. When I watched this HBO thing and the promo I got for it, and I watched it, I thought, come on. You can't just get deals done.
Well, let me just correct. I would say this because, from my boxing background, I know a lot of the HBO guys. That's been in the works for a while. Like Maverick Carter spends a lot of his days inundating Showtime and HBO with ideas. I mean, they have...
That's LeBron's best friend.
That's his best friend, yeah, his business manager, the guy that does the entertainment side of LeBron James Inc., so to speak. So that part of it, I think, doesn't have much to do with LA. It's the next level stuff that has everything to do with LA. That's where I kind of agree with you that, look, I don't know that it was a foregone conclusion back in September because we've seen a lot change during seasons. Would things have changed if, say, the Cavs had won a championship? If they'd been able to make a midseason deal to acquire a player that LeBron really wants to play with? A lot can change in that period of time, but once it went the way it went, the other stuff started to come into play a lot more. The being kind of a media mogul and thinking about the next chapter of his life.
I mean, he's been in town 16 days. It's just a thing after a thing after a business thing.
It'll keep being that way because everybody will take a meeting with this guy. Everyone will sit down with him and discuss whatever project he wants to do next.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.